I don't think either Al or myself had planned we're going to be like, oh, we're going to have this new collection about transgender Marxism, which is going to be all about how revolutionary trans politics can like replace feminism, like, or come to terms. You know what I mean? That was not our plan.
That actually, I so appreciated that it was articulated in that way. Revolutionary trans politics is meant to replace feminism. Just really wrap your heads around that for a second. They intend the trans Marxism to replace third wave feminism. They're trying to eliminate women. They're trying to eliminate women. Let's just listen to that again.
Planning of previously kind of naturalized and elevated orders which feminist movements around the world achieved is clearly like preconditional for trans politics as we know it. However, also there's an obvious there's an obvious antagonism that exists as well, which I feel like actually got covered by transgender Marxism more than I'd conceived of. Like I don't think either Al or myself had planned we're going to be like, oh, we're going to have this new collection about transgender Marxism, which is going to be all about how revolutionary trans politics can like replace feminism or come to terms. You know what I mean? That was not our plan. But when we were doing the index is actually when we realized that like loads of chapters are like engaging in radical feminism on different levels and in different ways and making some pretty different arguments. But it's almost like the collection was unintentionally kind of shot through with this concern of responding to radical feminist critiques. And to talk about like why that is.
Wow. I think, like, I hadn't thought about it that way before.
Trans people of whatever gender position you end up.
Trans politics is meant to replace feminism.
Spent time in feminist movements, or at least the trans people who are politically engaged. This is like disproportionately the kind of mode of political organizing we've come through. And I suppose to get into We Want It All, and We Want It All, that's really like completely unmistakable. Like it appears sort of like we've already talked about Amy Marvin's other one, The First Trans Poem, but there's this one, Hey Guys, which is like possibly my favorite and not coincidentally clearly like the bitchiest poem in the collection, which is kind of like very specifically skewering this kind of like NGO curious gentrifier sort of like the kind of like soft boy tender queer.
Hang on. Wait, Trendlin, hang on to your hats. Then answer me this. Why did they transition to women? They didn't. Every single one of them is non-binary. I'm pretty sure they're all non-binary. They don't have their pronouns in this. They're not women. They're non-binary. They don't believe in the gender binary. Well, the ones who have she pronouns also have they pronouns. So it's like this is why like people are doing this weird like he they or she they. They're non-binary. They're gender fluid. Because they want to eliminate the gender binary. Holy shit.
Different approaches through which trans radical thinkers have grasped said abolition. For instance, on the one hand, Jules echoed the anti-carceral struggle by pointing to the need and focus the material conditions upon which gender division instead of prisons are built. Kay called for the abolition of gender abjection, I guess in the line of Rosemary Hennessy's point, but foresaw liberatory possibilities in maintaining gendered aesthetic pleasures and expressions. Although argues that gender can be abolished while preserving the rights and dignities of people to identify however they like, but while destroying its role in the organization of economic life. I myself have claimed previously that gender abolition implied the collective organization to overcome the material conditions that determine gender identities in the capitalist mode of production, thus socially immiserating the lives of gender variant people and women. So, how do you think that trans liberation should approach said call for gender abolition and
gender abolition fundamentally means abolishing gender. I know this seems overly simplistic, but I want to make sure everyone understands this point. Everything like that, when you're listening to like socialism, you're going to hear the words abolition, liberation. You need to use those two interchangeably. They are liberating, when it comes to gender, they are liberating people from the gender binary. They are abolishing the gender binary in order to liberate people from the constraints of the gender binary, because capitalism exploits the gender binary to lead to an inequitable distribution of resources based on the gender binary. So when you hear gender abolition, they're just trying to get rid of gender. That's it. They want everyone to be non-binary. Why do they want to do that? Because they see destruction of the family as a key component of ushering in their Marxist utopia. You cannot have a traditional family structure if you have a gender binary. And when they abolish the family, that means that we are going to not have biological ties to people anymore. They want all children to be born via surrogacy, just like in Brave New World. Or in 1984, too. 1984 was trying to do this. They called it ArtSem. Do you guys remember how in 1984 they wanted to eliminate the orgasm? Women were refusing to have sex. It was literally called ArtSem. They were trying to make all people born via surrogacy. Because if you eliminate our biological ties to each other, who do we have to rely on but the state? Justin White, this is why they are masculinating women and feminizing men in movies and modern entertainment. I mean, I think that's part of it. I mean, I don't know that that's like all of it, but like I definitely think that they're yeah, exactly. They want the state to be everyone's god. The Giver, yep, they also did surrogacy in The Giver. All of the things that the left are doing, all of the craziest shit that the left is doing, you always have to remind yourself that everything they are doing leads to Marx. Every single thing they do ultimately leads to Marx. You guys have got to read the Communist Manifesto. I know you don't want to. I know you think it's boring, but I promise you it is well worth it. It is a quick read. It is free on the internet. You don't even need to pay for it. Read the Communist Manifesto and then really, really internalize that every crazy thing you see the left doing leads to this. Every single thing is subjugated to this. Radical gender ideology in the schools. They're getting to your kids because they're not having kids of their own. They're getting to your kids.